Hi guys, Ronnie here. Today I want to talk about brake and shift cables and how do I make them in order to be perfect. So nowadays many people use electronic shifting systems mainly out of convenience because that's their main advantage. I have 3 bikes, 2 of those are still mechanical, and a big reason for that is 2 of those bikes are one by as well. With one by you don't really get any convenience benefit from electronic drivetrains because with SRAM you still have to have the blip box. With Di2 you still need the junction boxes, all the same amount of wires, you just don't plug the front derailleur in. So I decided to have both my cross and time trial bikes mechanical, and contrary to popular belief, mechanical systems, at least the SRAM ones, are actually shifting a lot quicker than the electronic ones. So yeah, if you do get it right, you get a very nice shifting with a lot of feedback, very reliable as well and long lasting. So what you're going to need is a couple of tools. Now I use Park Tools IR 1.2, so this is the latest version. It has everything you need for internally routed system. So you can route the housings, you can route hydraulic hoses, you can route electronic wires. And the one rule of thumb I use is that I always first route the wires, because if you have an internal handlebar, for example, that's where it applies the most. So on the Speed Concept or Madone perhaps, if the housings are already there, you have much less space, and the electrical wire is quite pliable, so it's pretty hard to route if the housings are already in there. One occasion where you can't use this is where you have cable stop at the entry of the frame and then at the outside, so you only have the cable itself running through the frame, and that is when you use this little Teflon sheeting, which is very easy to route through any frame, and then you just pull the cable inside it and remove the sheeting and you're good to go. And vice versa, if you're changing your cables, you first pull the sheeting over the cable, then you remove the cable and then put the new cable in the sheeting, remove that, and you are done in 2 minutes. Contrary to what people might be saying, that you need 1 day to route an internal routed frame. Of course, if you have things routed, then you also need to bring them up to size. So that's when I use quality cable cutters. But the problem is, even when you use something like this from Park Tool, I find that on these outers you still can't get an extremely clean cut. So if you look at the end that's cut by the factory, which is cut by a big machine, then you see it's completely clean. Well, the only way to achieve that at home is, well, at least what I do, is to take the cable and grind the end down on the angle grinder. Then it gets exactly like this, super nice finish, and then you clean it out with a pick. So that's what you do. In terms of the cables themselves, many people like to use Teflon coated cables. They are rubbish, I can tell you straight up. The best cables to use are these from Jaguar. These don't have a Teflon coating or any coating for that matter. As you can see, they are polished and they are very, very slick. And the thing about this is the polished cables remain basically stiction free forever. Whereas with the Teflon coated cable, the Teflon coating frays and then starts to come out and then fills up, clogs up your whole system, and you start to get a lot of friction, so you'll need to change those. With these, that can't happen. Then with many internally routed frames, noises coming from the cables rattling inside the frame or the bar are really annoying. So recently I found this product. The brand is called CapGo, and they make these foam sleeves. So they're made in 2 diameters for shift and brake housing, and just thread this over the housing, put some tape over it so it doesn't slide off, and yeah, it will keep your bike silent. 2 meters of this is 1 gram, so you don't need to worry about adding any weight either. Then if you go back to these Teflon sleeves, another good use is on some track frames or other frames as well, you get some guides at the bottom bracket, and these tend to wear out pretty quickly, and that's where I just take a small section of this, thread it through the frame and glue it in place, and this will be acting as my new bottom bracket cable guide. And the good thing about it is it's not open, so it doesn't get clogged up by mud and road grime. And finally, about the cable outers. Again, I like to use Jaguar outers, the highest quality ones, although Durace and SRAM Red outers, or Slickwire, whatever they call it, they're all quite good quality, so any of that. If you take a high quality housing, you will notice that it's quite pliable, flexible. That means you can do tight corners without increasing the drag too much. And then if you want to have the ultimate shifting or braking performance, you really need a set of these. So these are non-compression housings, again from Jaguar, but there are other brands as well. So yeah, these is the same Teflon sheeting as mentioned before, plus they have these aluminum segments over it, and these are basically impossible to compress with cable tension. So yeah, these create the fast shifting and the smoothest feeling of the brakes from all of these systems. Now for internally routed bikes, these are quite a hassle to install because they're segmented, so they can come apart, and then you can get all these tiny segments into the frame. That's not too pretty. So on those bikes I prefer to only use them for shifting, whereas on an externally cabled bike you can use them for everything. And it saves some weight as well, a bit of drag, because these are really thin. And yeah, they are a super high performance product. So if you adhere to all these recommendations, then your bike will be shifting and braking perfectly without the need of electronic drivetrains. If you'd like to see other tips or my complete builds using these practices, then don't forget to tune into the channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.